The Trail of Tears is a profound and tragic chapter in American history that unfolded in the 1830s, marking a period of forced relocation and immense suffering for Native American tribes, most notably the Cherokee Nation. The policy was set in motion by the Indian Removal Act of 1830, signed into law by President Andrew Jackson, which aimed to remove Native Americans from their ancestral lands in the southeastern United States and resettle them in designated Indian Territory, present-day Oklahoma. To comprehend the magnitude of the Trail of Tears, it is essential to understand the historical context and the dynamics between the indigenous population and the emerging United States. The early 19th century ushered in a period of aggressive westward expansion, fueled by the allure of fertile lands and valuable resources such as gold. However, this expansion clashed with the existence of Native American tribes who had long established complex societies and cultures across the southeastern region. The Cherokee Nation, one of the largest and most advanced tribes in the southeastern United States, had adopted and adapted many aspects of European American society. They had developed a written language, established their own government, and even embraced farming and a written constitution. Despite their efforts to assimilate, the Cherokee people faced increasing pressure from white settlers encroaching upon their lands. Tensions between the Cherokee Nation and the white settlers intensified in the early 1820s when gold was discovered in Georgia. The allure of riches sparked a gold rush, leading to an influx of settlers and mounting pressure to remove the Cherokee population from their ancestral lands. This desire to seize Cherokee lands was facilitated by the election of Andrew Jackson as the 7th President of the United States in 1828. Jackson, who had a long history of anti-Indian sentiment, saw the removal of Native Americans as a solution that would enable white settlers to lay claim to these lands. In 1830, the Indian Removal Act was passed, granting the federal government the authority to negotiate treaties with Native American tribes for their removal. The act authorized the relocation of Native American tribes living east of the Mississippi River, setting the stage for the tragic events that would follow. Despite opposition from some Congress members who recognized the injustice and inhumanity of the act, it was swiftly enacted into law. One of the most consequential treaties negotiated under this act was the Treaty of New Echota, signed by a small faction of Cherokee leaders who did not represent the majority of the Cherokee people. Under this treaty, the Cherokee Nation would relinquish its lands in exchange for compensation and relocation assistance. Despite the controversial and questionable circumstances surrounding the treaty, it was ratified by the United States Senate in 1836. With the legal framework in place, the forced removal of the Cherokee people began in 1838. The Cherokee were rounded up by military forces, and their homes, farms, and possessions were seized by white settlers. Families were torn apart and chaos ensued as thousands of Cherokee were forced to abandon their land and begin the arduous journey westward. The journey, which would come to be known as the Trail of Tears, was fraught with unimaginable hardships. Without adequate provisions and resources, the Cherokee people were forced to march on foot, enduring extreme weather conditions and lacking proper clothing, shelter, and food. Disease ran rampant among the vulnerable population, particularly among the elderly and children, who were the most susceptible. Chronicling the exact number of lives lost during the Trail of Tears is difficult, as records were not meticulously kept and often disregarded the suffering of Native American communities. However, estimates suggest that around 4,000 Cherokee people perished during the forced relocation, with some estimations even higher. The death toll encompassed not just those who died during the march, but also those who succumbed to disease, malnutrition, and exposure in the years following their arrival in Indian Territory. As the Cherokee and other tribes arrived in Indian Territory, their struggle did not end. The land allocated to them was often already occupied by other Native American tribes, leading to further displacement and conflicts between tribes. Additionally, the promise of fertile and abundant land proved to be a false one, as the soil was often unsuitable for agriculture, resulting in further hardships and poverty for the relocated tribes. The Trail of Tears is a haunting reminder of the brutal policies and injustices inflicted upon Native American communities during this period. It stands as a stark illustration of the disregard for human rights, justice, and the sanctity of ancestral lands that characterized the expansion of the United States. The suffering and loss endured by the Cherokee and other tribes during this forced removal resonate as an indelible mark on the nation's conscience. In recent years, efforts have been made to commemorate and honor the memory of the Trail of Tears. Memorials, museums, and educational programs have been established to raise awareness about this dark chapter in American history, and to pay tribute to the resilience and strength of the Native American communities. It is important to recognize and acknowledge the legacy of the Trail of Tears as part of a broader narrative of colonization and the ongoing struggle for justice and equality for Native American peoples. The Trail of Tears has had a lasting and profound impact on the Native American community that continues to be felt today. This tragic event not only led to the loss of thousands of lives, but also resulted in the dispossession of ancestral lands, the disruption of cultural practices and traditions, and a profound sense of displacement and trauma. Here are some of the ways in which the Trail of Tears has shaped the Native American community in the present day. 1. Land loss and displacement. The forced removal of tribes such as the Cherokee, Creek, Choctaw, Chickasaw, and Seminole from their ancestral lands significantly diminished their access to resources and disrupted their way of life. Many Native Americans were relocated to unfamiliar territories, often disrupting established social structures and relationships with the land. This loss of land continues to impact the ability of Native communities to exercise sovereignty and cultural autonomy. 2. Intergenerational trauma. The Trail of Tears has had a profound impact on the psychological well-being of Native American communities. The traumatic experiences of forced removal, loss of family members, and the destruction of cultural heritage has been passed down through generations. The resulting intergenerational trauma manifests in higher rates of mental health issues, substance abuse, and suicide within Native American populations. 3. Cultural disruption and loss. The forced relocation and assimilation efforts associated with the Trail of Tears resulted in the suppression and erosion of Native American cultures, languages, and traditions. Many cultural practices, knowledge systems, and spiritual beliefs suffered as a result. Native communities today continue to grapple with the challenge of reclaiming and revitalizing their cultural heritage in the face of historical trauma. 4. Political and legal implications. The Trail of Tears and its associated policies significantly impacted the legal and political status of Native American tribes. The US government's actions during this period set a precedent of disregarding tribal sovereignty and rights, which continued to shape subsequent federal policies towards Native Americans. Today, ongoing legal battles and discussions continue concerning land rights, treaty rights, and the recognition of tribal sovereignty. 5. Commemoration and healing. The Trail of Tears remains a focal point for education, memory, and healing for Native American communities. Memorials, museums, and events help raise awareness and commemorate the suffering and resilience of those who endured this tragic event. These efforts aim to promote healing, reclaim Native identity, and foster a renewed appreciation for Native American history and culture. 6. Ongoing inequalities and socio-economic challenges. The Trail of Tears has contributed to lasting socio-economic disparities faced by Native American communities today. Historical dispossession of lands and the subsequent difficulty in building economic stability have perpetuated poverty and limited opportunities for many tribes. Lack of access to quality healthcare, education, and basic infrastructure further exacerbates these challenges. 7. Activism and advocacy. The Trail of Tears and its consequences have spurred activism and advocacy efforts within the Native American community. Many individuals and organizations work tirelessly to protect tribal sovereignty, advocate for the rights of Native peoples, and raise awareness about historical injustices. This activism aims to build stronger, self-sufficient communities and ensure Native voices are heard in shaping government policies. In summary, the Trail of Tears deeply impacted the Native American community and left a lasting legacy that continues to shape their lives today. From land loss and cultural disruption to intergenerational trauma and ongoing socio-economic challenges, the effects of this tragic event echo through generations. However, Nativi communities also demonstrate a resilience, cultural revitalization, and an unwavering commitment to preserving their heritage. forging a path towards healing and strength amidst the lasting impacts of the Trail of Tears.